Have you ever wondered why bread rises and becomes soft, light, and fluffy? At first glance, baking bread might seem simple. You mix a few ingredients together, put the dough in a warm place, and somehow it grows larger and transforms into a loaf of bread. But what looks like simple baking processes is actually driven by several important chemistry concepts working together. Inside the dough, tiny yeast cells are carrying out chemical reactions that produce carbon dioxide gas. As this gas forms, it gets trapped in the dough and causes it to expand. At the same time, the behavior of gas particles and changes in temperature affect how quickly the dough rises and develops its texture. When bread rises, chemical reactions, gas laws, and particle motion are all happening at the same time. These processes help create the soft structure and airy texture that we expect from a loaf of bread. In this video, I'll explain how chemistry helps bread rise and why temperature plays such an important role throughout the process. The first chemistry concept involved in making bread is chemical reactions. Dough for bread contains yeast, sugar, flour, and water. Yeast is a living organism that needs energy to survive. To get that energy, the yeast breaks down sugar through the process called fermentation. During fermentation, the sugar molecules are changed into completely new substances: carbon dioxide gas, also called CO2, and alcohol. This is a chemical change because the original sugar molecules are transformed into different products. The sugar is no longer the same substance after the reaction happens. The carbon dioxide gas produced by the yeast is especially important because it creates tiny bubbles inside the dough. These bubbles are what make the bread light and fluffy instead of flat and dense. The second chemistry concept I will be talking about today is gas laws. Once the carbon dioxide gas is created, it gets trapped inside the dough. As the dough warms up, the gas particles gain energy and begin moving faster. At the particle level, the CO2 molecules are constantly moving randomly inside of the dough. When heat is added, from the oven usually, the molecules speed up and spread further apart. This relationship explains that when temperature increases, gas expand and take up more space. As the gas particles move faster, they collide with the dough more often. These collisions create pressure that pushes outward on the dough, causing it to stretch and expand. That's why dough rises better in a warm place than when it's in a cold place. The third chemistry concept is particle motion, specifically pressure and temperature. Particles are always moving, but temperature affects how fast they move. When the dough is warm, the yeast cells and gas particles have more energy, so they move faster and collide more often. More collisions mean the yeast produces carbon dioxide more quickly, which creates even more bubbles in the dough. The particles spread out and move slowly when representing cooler temperatures. Then, when heat is added, they move faster. The faster the particles move shows gas particles gaining energy, colliding more often and creating pressure that makes the bread rise. This helps show what's happening at the teeny tiny particle level inside the dough, even though we normally can't see it with our eyes. In conclusion, bread rising is actually a great example of chemistry in everyday life. Chemical reactions happen when yeast ferments sugar and creates carbon dioxide gas. Gas laws explain how warm temperatures cause gas to expand inside the dough, and particle motion explains why faster moving particles create more pressure and more bubbles. All of these chemistry concepts work together to make bread soft, fluffy, and delicious. Without chemistry, bread wouldn't rise at all. So next time you eat a piece of bread, now you know what's happening.